I must commend the Nigerian Content Board for the successes recorded in the last 10 years since its formation.
President Buhari restates commitment to completion of infrastructure projects.
Government remains committed to sustaining the follow-up for the removal of the visa restrictions by the United States of America.
Federal government says progress has been achieved towards reversing the United States suspension of the issuance of immigration visas.
I wish to commend our youth who have supported community mobilization and risk communication through social media and community engagement.
And Nigeria is studying vaccine development around the world as PTF continues to enlighten Nigerians on what to do on COVID-19. Good evening. It's good to have you join us on Network News tonight. I'm Cyril Stover in Abuja. In Lagos is Hingino John Adams and Abdullahi Muhammad is in Kaduna. Now for details of the news. President Muhammad Buhari says more resources will be allocated by the federal government towards completing infrastructure projects across the country, especially those being undertaken by local contractors and technologists, as a deliberate attempt at sustaining the creation of jobs for Nigerians. This was at the inauguration of the new headquarters building of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board in Yenagoa, Bayelsa State. The President expressed the belief that provision of job opportunities and infrastructure that support businesses are essential means of addressing challenges of security. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has the details.
The iconic 17-story building known as the Nigerian Content Tower, with the full complements of a 10 megawatts gas-powered power plant and 1,000-seater capacity conference center, was inaugurated by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timothy Silva, on behalf of the President. Addressing participants at the ceremony virtually, President Muhammadu Buhari said the completion of the project reflects his administration's infrastructural development drive towards attracting investment, creating jobs, and further enhancing efforts at lifting millions of Nigerians out of poverty.
With commissioning of this project, I want to highlight that we have put in place a landmark of reference in the Niger Delta to reflect long-lasting legacies that signpost the years of oil and gas exploitation, and I assure you that there is more to come. I must commend the Nigerian Content Board for the successes recorded in the last 10 years since its formation. The edifice is a befitting birthday gift as you mark your 10th year anniversary as a regulator and developer of local content in the oil and gas industry.
Describing local content as critical in all activities of Nigeria's national life, especially with the prevailing coronavirus pandemic, the President expressed the belief that production and patronage of goods and services locally are part of the surest ways to empower the citizens and give them viable opportunities to excel in their chosen professions and business endeavors.
Local content and self-reliance are the key principles of the recently approved 2.3 trillion Naira National Economic Sustainability Plan. The plan is aimed at the promotion of local production, local services, local innovation, and the use of local materials. It is imperative that we must produce what we eat and produce enough of our requirements and more for export. All these policy directives and programs are also meant to address some of the causative factors of insecurity.
Already, he said, 2 executive orders have been issued relating to enforcing local content in public procurement and contracts towards further replicating the successes being realized in the oil and gas sector. President Buhari congratulated the people of Bayelsa State for being the proud host of the landmark edifice in the heart of the Niger Delta. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And the federal government says progress has been achieved towards reversing the United States suspension of the issuance of immigrant visas to Nigerian passport holders. This is contained in the report of the Committee on Citizen Data Management and Harmonization submitted to President Muhammadu Buhari. Here again is State House correspondent Adamu Sambu with that report.
The committee, chaired by the Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, was set up in February this year to address issues that led to the U.S. temporary visa restrictions on Nigerian passport holders. The suspension does not, however, apply to other U.S. visas such as those for official, business, tourism, and student travel.
All the issues and concerns that led to the imposition of visa restriction by the United States of America have been reviewed and processes put in place or proposed to address themselves. Out of 6 areas of concern raised by the USA, Nigeria had fully satisfied 2. 2 are substantially satisfied, while some progress have been made on the remaining 2.
The committee, amongst others, recommended the establishment of a National Identity Data Bank, National Criminal Information Management System, and a National Criminal DNA Laboratory to aid criminal investigation, administration of criminal justice, as well as sharing of relevant information. President Muhammadu Buhari, who commended the committee for its patriotic diligence in carrying out the assignment, assured Nigerians and the international community of the timely implementation of the committee's recommendations after due consideration. He noted with delight the progress made by Nigeria towards the removal of the visa restrictions already acknowledged by the United States government.
The implementation of these and other far-reaching recommendations as articulated in the report will fully address all outstanding issues that led to the visa restrictions. Government remains committed to sustaining the follow-up for the removal of the visa restrictions by the United States of America and developing a credible, harmonized national identity data management system.
The committee's recommendations, he explained, are capable of addressing the concerns raised by the U.S. government as well as lead to the development of a reliable national citizen identity data management system.
An effective citizen data management system is critical for socio-economic planning, improved service delivery, and good governance, as well as national and global security. It also has the overarching benefit of enhancing the integrity of the nation's citizens' identity instruments for the purpose of information sharing.
At a news briefing shortly after, Interior Minister Rauf Aregbesola announced that the harmonization of all existing data in the country must be completed by the end of June next year.
INEC should collaborate with NIMC and NOA to utilize the NIN in voters' validation exercises for upcoming elections and work towards ensuring that all eligible voters are issued NIN latest, absolutely latest, by 31st December 2022.
We are now working on blockchain technology, which will ensure 100% integrity and credibility of data, which is a part of our new emerging technologies. When that is enforced in place, then the issue of data manipulation, it will never happen, inshallah.
An implementation committee is soon to be constituted to further study the recommendations and develop a workable action plan in the best interest of Nigeria. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Now, the United States of America is sustaining and strengthening collaboration with the Nigerian government in areas of humanitarian support and other critical interventions. U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria, Mary Beth Leonard, reassured of the continued working relationship between the two governments during a courtesy visit to the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports.
The visit serves as platform for advancing issues relating to humanitarian support and bilateral cooperation in dealing with consequences of human and natural disasters. U.S. Ambassador specifically appreciates Nigeria's efforts in addressing insecurity, displaced persons, and the vulnerable groups in the society, and pledged to sustain the partnership.
We are the largest humanitarian donor. We are also one of the biggest donors internationally and in Nigeria in the area of health, and you should expect that the United States will remain a steadfast partner for Nigeria.
Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, described U.S. as a strategic partner in critical times and promised to uphold the friendship for the benefit of both countries.
The government of Nigeria recognizes their efforts to support citizens in their condition and their need of humanitarian support. Their work is holy, and their work is something that you cannot repay them.
The ambassador presented the outgoing USAID Nigerian Mission Director Stephen Aiken to the minister, describing his 5 tenure as remarkable and rewarding to Nigeria. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
In the meantime, ongoing efforts at accelerating localization of humanitarian interventions through partnership in Nigeria have received the blessings of relevant government bodies. Ikechukwu Ndukwe reports.
Nigeria, over the years, has faced the issue of data predictions and ratings from international bodies, which most times conflict with available data generated locally. A situation in Kesu Dongwo is happy that all that will be a thing of the past with the inauguration of 28 member local partners whose duties will be to generate data, provide humanitarian interventions through the sponsorship of Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, and other local and international agencies. The charge from government is simple. Do not betray the trust bestowed on you by Nigerians, ensure interventions go around all geopolitical zones, and maintain integrity in gathering data.
Localization is key to delivering humanitarian response and ensuring appropriate and strategic exit, which resonates with the federal government's interest and commitment to localization agenda that will ensure effective and efficient humanitarian response in Nigeria.
The inauguration of the local partners is to take delivery of Nigerian problems and solutions by local bodies. In Abuja, Ikechukwu Ndukwe, NTA News.
The House of Representatives has tasked revenue-generating agencies to focus more on non-oil revenue, as the country is blessed with huge revenue sources apart from oil. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, stated this at the commencement of a 5-day interactive session on the 2021-2023 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy paper in Abuja. National Assembly correspondent Vivian Idekpefo reports.
The year 2020 came with unforeseen challenges occasioned by the effects of the coronavirus, which has forced governments across the world to review their economic development strategy. Nigeria witnessed a review of its 2020 budget with major adjustments to its expenditure and fiscal strategy, all geared towards keeping the economy on track. Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila noted these disruptions, which have necessitated governments borrowing to fund urgent development needs and interventions to help the most vulnerable. He lamented the consistent failure on the part of agencies to adhere to revenue remittance agreement, adding that the House will not relent in its constitutional duties.
The legislature remains the keeper of the public purse, with broad constitutional authority to act on behalf of the Nigerian people to ensure that our collective resources are efficiently administered in service of the public good.
The National Assembly will henceforth expect the Office of the Accountant General
to deduct from the accounts of any defaulting MDA such revenues the agency owes the federal government.
Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Clem Agba, in his presentation, warned of the likelihood of the country lapsing into another recession in 4 years, owing to the impact of coronavirus, except a robust growth is achieved by the end of the third quarter of this year. Already, the federal government is working to manage the looming crisis.
Government is determined to act as may be required. Thus, key reforms will be implemented with increased vigor to improve revenue collection and expenditure management.
The minister added that the executive arm of government will work with the National Assembly to amend relevant laws to help with the Strategic Revenue Growth Initiative. From the National Assembly, Vivian Itekwefo, NTA News.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says technology and the innovations it entails has defined a new way of life and now fast-tracking the democratization of law and justice in Nigeria. The Vice President stated this at the Law Pavilion Technology Conference held virtually with the theme, A New Paradigm in Justice Delivery. As Vice President Osinbajo noted, change has surely come for the administration of the justice system in the country. On the need for the entirety of Nigeria's justice sector to embrace what he described as the new normal, the Vice President said, though no one had predicted that a time would come when authorities would endorse virtual court proceedings, the disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic have necessitated the adoption of technology for all court processes, while imploring lawyers and stakeholders in the justice sector to be prepared for the times ahead by finding alternative and better ways of delivering legal and associated services. The Vice President said the next few years will see even more changes as artificial intelligence will play a bigger role in the court systems. And staying with the justice sector, Justice Inyang Ekwu of the Federal High Court has directed that the charge and court processes on the trial of former Attorney General and Minister of Justice Mohammed Adoke be made available to media houses covering the trial to ensure accurate reportage. Justice Ekwu, who noted that the international community is watching the proceedings, said this at the trial of Adoke, who's facing money laundering charges preferred against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Judiciary correspondent Vera Chumba now brings us the details.
Two prosecution witnesses testified before the court Thursday on the 300 million naira loan obtained from a bank by the former Attorney General and Minister of Justice. The other on the processes used by the Central Bank of Nigeria to determine the foreign exchange regime in the forex market. Rixlanuddin Mohammed, a prosecution witness and former acting managing director of Unity Bank, under cross-examination by the defense counsel Awakalo SAN, told the court how Adoke obtained a loan of 300 million naira from the bank. He said the loan was finally liquidated when Adoke handed him $2.2 million, which he converted to naira in excess of the principal loan amount. Mohammed said Adoke collected the balance of 6 million naira interest that accrued from the sale and closed the account after the bank had deducted all necessary interest in the transaction. He further stated that the $2.2 million was not a proceed of crime, as it was for repayment of loan Adoke obtained from the bank. Led in evidence by the prosecution counsel Bala Sanga, a manager in charge of foreign exchange at the Central Bank of Nigeria, Clement Osagi, explained the modus operandi of the bank that determined the pegging of naira to $1. He tendered foreign exchange transaction rates covering August, September, and October 2013, which was admitted as exhibits. Justice Ian Eko warned journalists to stop linking the trial with Malabu oil deal. After listening to the submission of the parties, he directed that the processes of the court proceedings be made available to journalists, while they should also seek clarification on the trial.
Very, very happy that at long last, trial has commenced, and We hope, and you can see from the pace the court is taking, hopefully very soon, we will wrap up our case and it's left for the defense to open theirs.
Well, so far it's okay that there is no problem anywhere. I mean, the evidence is quite okay.
Justice Eko is determined to give the case a expeditious trial. For that reason, the matter has been adjourned for 5 days from 5th to 11th of September. In Abuja, Viera Chumba, NTA News.
In the meantime, the National Judicial Council, under the chairmanship of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed, has considered the report of its investigation committee on allegations of misconduct made against Justice K. Ogbonnaya of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and issued a warning letter to him following its findings on the petition written against him by Dr. Uche Chukwu Oga, that he refused to release a copy of judgment delivered to the petitioner within the constitutionally prescribed period of 7 days. In the same vein, Council also dismissed a petition written by Mrs. Adewumi E. Nancy against Justice Sunday Olorundaunsi for want of merit. Council also considered the report of Preliminary Complaints Assessment Committee on petitions written against 16 judicial officers for lacking in merit. In a statement by the NGC's Director of Information, Sojuyi, the Council considered the report of its interview committee and recommended 22 judicial officers as justices of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, heads of courts, judges of high courts of states, cadis of states Sharia courts of appeal, and judges of customary courts of appeal. You're watching the news on the network service of the NTA. We'll be back after these messages.
Development Research and Project Center, in collaboration with the Nigerian Labour Congress, invite public schools with students writing NAPTEP examination to apply for direct school support for activities intended to improve examination outcomes and improve transition to skill work in order to mitigate the negative impact of COVID-19 on the school system. Size of award between 300,000 to 1 million naira. Period of performance September to December 2020. To participate, log on to our website, fill the downloaded application form and send to this email. All application must be sent in on or before 25th August 2020.
His Excellency Senator Doye Dewey, the Executive Governor of Bayelsa State, on behalf of the government and hospitable people, wishes to sincerely thank His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, President and Commander-in-Chief, Federal Republic of Nigeria, for the successful completion and virtual commissioning ceremony of the 17-story headquarters building of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board in Yenagoa and a 10-megawatt gas-fired independent power plant at Elebele. This event marks another milestone in your continuing efforts at ensuring an effective and excellent collaboration between our two tiers of government for the socio-economic advancement of people of our country. We also look forward to the soon completion of the Oloibri Oil Museum and the Oil Industry COVID-19 Medical Infrastructure for South-South region in Yenagoa, Bayelsa State. Once again, congratulations, Mr. President, for the successful commissioning ceremony and your continuing solidarity with Bayelsa State, the glory of all lands. Noah, Aloha, Do.
ICPC and NTA say you can help Nigeria to flatten the curve on COVID-19, just as you can help flatten the curve on corruption. Follow transparency, accountability, and integrity just as you follow health guidelines. Stay home with integrity and maintain your distance from corruption, just as you stay away from COVID-19 by maintaining social distance. Report every act of corruption to ICPC, just as you report COVID-19 to NCDC. Stay away from corruption, stay safe from COVID-19. Report any act of corruption to ICPC on toll-free number 0800-2255-4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
Every year, New sets of graduates are released into Nigeria's oversaturated job market. This includes graduates like myself who studied abroad. As my service year runs out, I ponder, how well equipped and prepared are we to successfully compete in a market with limited options? Do I join the more than 1.7 million of unemployed and underemployed graduates in Nigeria who are either searching for a job or looking to start their own business? Or do I return and add to the over 1.2 million Nigerian migrants in diaspora who left the shores of our country in search of a better life? My name is Sharon Asebi, and this is my story of being a graduate in Nigeria.
We keep it moving. We going straight to the top, like in a nine. We tell them haters, this is war. Slowing down or making a stop. We waiting to drop. Do us a favor.
You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Going straight to the top, like in a nine. We tell them haters.
To see this. I'm the boss.
Never slowing down or making a stop. We waiting to drop. Do us a favor. We keep it moving.
Thanks for staying with us. Traditional rulers from Anambra State have expressed appreciation to President Muhammadu Buhari for his genuine commitment to the development of the country, particularly the southeast. The monarchs, who were led to the State House by Prince Arthur Eze, were received by the Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari. State House correspondent Adam Musambu reports.
The royal fathers described as fulfilling and reassuring that landmark projects like the second Niger Bridge project hitherto presented as an impossible task by previous administrations is now becoming a reality under President Buhari's keen watch. They also listed the Enugu-Onisha and Enugu-Port Harcourt expressways, amongst others, as critical infrastructure projects receiving government's desired attention. The people of the Southeast, Chief Arthur Eze emphasized, never had it so good and are indeed grateful to the Buhari presidency. The delegation also lauded the president for appointing Igbo sons and daughters into key government positions, saying, as custodians of the heritage of the people, they felt it was incumbent on them to come and say thank you on behalf of everyone in the area. The Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, thanked the monarchs for the show of appreciation, describing the gesture as an incentive for President Muhammadu Buhari to do much more for the region and the country as a whole. From the State House, Adam Musambu, NTA News.
The ministerial task team to fashion a scientific audience measurement system to guide media advertising and advertisers in Nigeria has submitted its report to the Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, with recommendations geared towards energizing the industry for improved revenue generation. Anthony Forson has the details.
The 181-page report has far-reaching recommendations tied around 5 critical steps as the agenda, using television and radio as a starting point, while other media platforms will follow subsequently. Technology will also be used in setting minimum standards for all operators, as well as constituting a robust but manageable joint industry committee to ensure sustainability. Expressing satisfaction with the committee's performance, the Information and Culture Minister said he is convinced that the report will go a long way in assisting to solve audience measurement issues in the country.
It's no longer news that the absence of a world-class audience measurement system has resulted in underinvestment in the sector, and it has actually stunted its growth.
Restating the huge revenue being lost on account of inaccurate audience measurement system, the minister said Nigeria, with its huge population, generated a paltry $309 million against South Africa, whose population is put at 1/3 of Nigeria, generated $1.3 billion in 2016 alone.
Let me assure you that we will study the report and implement the recommendations, especially the 5-step agenda, with the same vigor and commitment that you have employed in putting it together.
To this end, the minister assured that the immediate task will be to assemble underperforming Nigerian TV and radio advertisers and mobilize them to raise their capacity, as they have the potentials of generating an additional $400 million within 3 years. Chairman of the committee, Garba Bello Kankarofi, who expressed gratitude for the honor to serve on the committee, said with the theme unleashing real value for all stakeholders in the Nigerian content ecosystem, they were able to understand reasons for underperformance and assured that with the right policies in place, the way forward is viable. Garba Bello Kankarofi expressed optimism that with the minister's desire to energize the advertising ecosystem, all players within the chain are in for a win-win situation. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
The board of the National Broadcasting Commission says the only national broadcast code recognized in the setting of operating policies and standards for the NBC is the 6th edition of the code launched in 2019. Elizabeth Omori reports that the chairman of the commission, Ikra Bilbis, at a media briefing, asserted that any other purported review has no endorsement of the management and therefore cannot be utilized in regulating broadcasting in Nigeria.
The board decried the purported review of some of the sections of the NB Code, which they say is detrimental to professionalism and the creative sector.
The NB Code is a regulatory framework put together jointly by the stakeholders to guide their operations in the industry. It is therefore not a unilateral government instrument and is already covered by law, hence not requiring any further prudential approval.
While calling for urgent attention to the amendments, the NBC says the code review is undertaken every 4 years and involves the Commission and other critical stakeholders in the broadcast industry.
As a board, we have received and taken our time to confide the response of numerous stakeholders, which include activists, legal practitioners, broadcasters, investors, born content creators, copyright experts, and professionals organizations. Most of them have adduced reasonable reasons against the proposed amendments.
Some stakeholders believe that a unilateral amendment to the NB Code may foster loss of confidence and the stability investors enjoy in the broadcast ecosystem. In Abuja, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
And reacting to the provisions for sanctions in the recently reviewed Nigeria Broadcasting Code, the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, BON, is requesting a reconsideration to allow for investigations and fair hearing before punitive measures are enforced. Uche Ugochukwu reports that this is one of the recommendations at a meeting of BON Central Working Committee in Abuja.
One of the issues that generated controversy is the provision against content exclusivity. While some welcome this as a way to beat monopoly of the market by few, others see this as counterproductive. There is need, as far as BON is concerned, to take a look at the provision again in order to address the likely emerging scenario.
BON said players in the broadcast industry, being a capital-intensive venture, are liable for breaches if some of the stipulations are not revised. The organization, therefore, called for a review of the Constitution to enable public broadcasting organizations collect radio and TV set license fees if the collection of adverts will be stopped as obtained in some international broadcast corporations.
BON therefore recommends for a change and adoption of an acceptable process which would allow for judicial transparency in the sanctioning procedure.
The body also called for the abolition of the payment of the 2.5% income of licensees. The amendment of the NBC Code was necessitated by the presidential directive in the wake of the 2019 general elections. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
In the meantime, the National Broadcasting Commission has slammed a 5 million naira fine on a radio station based in Lagos, Nigeria Info 99.3 FM, for unprofessional conduct and breach of public broadcasting rules. In a statement, NBC says Nigeria Info 99.3 FM made available its platform for Dr. Mailafia Obadiah to make unverifiable and inciting views that could encourage or incite crime and lead to public disorder in breach of several sections of the Broadcasting Code. The fine, the NBC says, is to serve as a deterrent to broadcast stations that are quick to provide platforms for subversive rhetoric and exposition of unverifiable claims. It says NBC will not hesitate to suspend the broadcasting license of any station that continues to breach the code. Moving on to the aviation sector now, the federal government has called for social dialogue between the employers and employees in the aviation industry to prevent job losses. Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, made the call at a conciliatory meeting held with airline operators and the trade unions in aviation to discuss contentious issues, especially pay cuts and laying off of workers. The minister appealed to them to join hands to make sure that there are no job losses in the industry, as the cardinal principle of the present administration is to prevent job losses. He said government on its part will honor its obligation to the industry by providing palliatives in form of tax reduction, tax exemption, and elimination of custom duties on aircraft spare parts and logistics. And the Central Bank of Nigeria will also provide a stimulus package to encourage the operators in the industry. The minister appreciated the efforts of the airline operators, especially Air Peace and Bristow Helicopters, in keeping the faith with the payment of salaries and allowances of their staff during the lockdown. He urged the operators to allow their employees exercise their right to unionization, as Section 40 of the Nigerian Constitution guarantees that. Right. Anyone is susceptible to contracting COVID-19, and no Nigerian should be ashamed to get tested and treated if infected. Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyama stated this while reflecting on his experience at Thursday's briefing of the Presidential Task Force in Abuja. Mitaire Ipen reports.
Put your hands together to welcome the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
An ovation to welcome the Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyama back to the PTF briefing following his recovery from COVID-19 infection.
Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
The minister recounted how he tried so hard to comply with all non-pharmaceutical guidelines, but still infected.
COVID is very real. I used to think that I used to have what I call a triple protection, as you could see from our previous meetings, my mask, my shield. We just have to keep at it. You never know, where it could come from. But I think as the last point that was made, and I had wanted to say, is that the issue of stigmatization, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Anybody can get catch this virus.
Statistics indicate that more young Nigerians are contracting COVID-19, hence the need for extra caution.
46% of COVID-19 cases in the country are young people between ages 21 to 40.
I'm sure
that our risk communication and community engagement strategy would gain a lot of mileage if the various youth organizations join this fight with all the necessary passion their youthful energy can bring to bear.
The strategy to ramp up testing is to have at least one sample collection site in every local government area.
Our target is to make sure that those 85 local governments that have not tested at all, they've not collected samples, we'll prioritize them. And then, of course, the states are the ones that are implementing this. We're working with the states.
As the world continues the search for a vaccine for COVID-19, the PTF is studying vaccine development around the globe towards equitable access for Nigeria whenever available. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikwen, NTA News.
The effects of infodemics have exceeded human imagination, and this requires drastic measures to calm it down for the good of the society. This was the fallout of a webinar with the theme, The Impact of Policymaking on Infodemics, organized by the International Society of Media in Public Health and the Center for Health Science Training, Research and Development. Haman Jabani, who was part of the webinar, now reports.
Infodemic is an excessive amount of information concerning a problem, including wide and rapid spread of misinformation, such that the solution is made difficult. The implications which stakeholders in this webinar categorize into policy and people include epileptic application of science and evidence, economic meltdown and mental health challenges from both epidemic and prolonged lockdown.
It has become clear that everyone, irrespective of the location on the globe, has a role to play in infodemic response.
I've been working closely with our partners. I must say our risk communication group is probably one of our most active. They have been right down to the local governments, and we have been working closely with them to push forward the messaging.
When we add all this together, hunger became a greater threat than the disease in the reality of many people on their day-to-day life. Now, this is the global infodemic, fact facts and fake facts.
Putting the issue of COVID-19 in true perspective in the country by these experts with the eyes of policy and science, the other responsibility which lies on the media needs the incorporation of media convergence for a larger audience base for an effective outcome.
But most importantly, to tell stories that touch more on the human angle, given the fact that we are dealing with a pandemic that is novel.
So we'll continue to do our best, and we try to counter the epidemics and the best way we can. Of course, the media convergence issue is there as well, in the sense that any serious media house now has to be on social media.
Infodemics travels even faster and spreads faster than the virus itself.
The call for action at the end of the webinar are policy advocacy and dialogue, COVID-19 Infodemic Management Network, and Community Collective and Citizens Actions Resources Hope. Haman Jabani, NTA News.
Nigerians stranded in Lebanon return. This and others from Alega Zone with Hingino. Hingino.
Thank you, Cyril. Irregular migration is a global crisis, and Nigerian youths are falling victims of human trafficking and maltreatment through such journeys. While receiving 94 Nigerians stranded in Lebanon at the international wing of the Murtala Mohammed Airport, Lagos, Chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabri Erewa, emphasized the dangers of irregular movement, urging Nigerians to desist from such. Imole Ayotokede reports that part of the returnees are some of the Nigerian girls who made an appeal to the federal government in a viral video for assistance to be returned to the country.
Orooluwa Adaja, a 22-year-old national diploma holder, left the shores of Nigeria a year ago to work as a house help in Lebanon with the promise of earning $300 every month.
Every week we used to go to the mountain to walk. So whenever I tell them I'm sick, she had to shout on me and tell me I'm a liar. Then I tell her I want to go back to my country. Then she threw me in the embassy.
Orioluwa's story is not different from the other girls who embarked on this dangerous journey in search of greener pasture.
Before I left Nigeria, I gave my agent 100,000. When I get to Lebanon, I give my agent 3 months' salary. So I go to Lebanon, September 20, and I give, yes.
I was accused of killing. I was jailed for 1 month. Though I'm back with nothing because I don't have money with me. I'm here just to start a new life.
Chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa, was on ground to receive the returnees alongside other concerned agencies.
Our girls just have to stop going on these journeys. Now, Lebanon has stopped issuing work visas. So by the time this repatriation is done with, we hope that we're not going to have more girls crying on the streets and saying, save us. The government of President Buhari has done enough to bring them back.
Apart from the profiling, the Minister of Social Development is interested in involving them in part of the federal government palliative issues and social development agreement.
The commission also revealed that the United Arab Emirates have given August 17, 2020 as deadline for irregular migrants to evacuate the country, of which 3 free flights have been arranged for them. More batches of Nigerians stranded in Lebanon are expected to be evacuated in the next couple of days. In Lagos, Imole Ayotukide, NTA News.
And now to security. The renewed mandate of the Western Naval Command of the Nigerian Navy is to stay committed to protecting the nation's maritime environment from all forms of aggression and invasion with a renewed vigor. Lynn Leneke reports that the flag officer commanding Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral Oladele Daji, said this at a formal ceremony marking the elevation of 50 officers in Lagos.
With the groundbreaking successes achieved through Operation Calm Waters 2, the Nigerian Navy says it is fired up to quash insecurity on the nation's exclusive zone.
A lot of arrests have been made. The waters are increasingly becoming more calm, and the void of illegalities that we used to hear perpetuate or that are prevalent within our waters.
To effectively undertake additional responsibilities that the mission requires, 32 deserving officers were elevated to lieutenant commanders, while 18 officers rose to the rank of lieutenants.
I assure you that we will uphold the tenets of the service and will not disappoint the confidence reposed in us by the Chief of the Naval Staff.
The task before these officers is guaranteeing a conducive maritime environment for legitimate businesses to thrive. The flag officer commanding Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral Oladele Daji, implored the officers to regard their new status as a higher call to service.
I urge you to keep on putting in your best to support the operations of the command, and I want to assure you that your welfare and your well-being will equally be taken up by the command.
Shipping of stripes in the Navy is an age-long naval tradition that originated from the Royal Navy and has been adopted by navies of the world. In Lagos, Lynn Leneke, NTA News.
We now take a break. Network News continues after that with Abdullahi in Kaduna.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. Or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
She cries. She cries in anguish and in pain. She bears the scourge of her grief. She toils in vain for justice and succumbs to silence. He gloats over his malady. Like a beast, he pounces with no remorse. Her cry means nothing. Her pain feeds her shame. Like an orphan, she's left to grieve in solitude. But no more will she cry in vain. Her adversaries will henceforth bear the brunt of their cruelty. Rape is evil. Rape is a plague, a pandemic of monumental consequences. We must unite and kick it out of our society.
Connect with NTA and stand against rape and rapists. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television.
In Kaduna, Primate of Anglican Church of Nigeria, Most Reverend Henry Chukudum has asked Nigerians to support government at all levels with prayers for peace, progress and development, especially in the strides towards addressing security challenges. The religious leader was speaking during a visit to Governor Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai at the Government House in Kaduna. Muhammad Umar Ajingi has details of the report.
It is one of the latest in the series of visits by religious leaders to Government House Kaduna to interact with Governor Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai toward sustainable peace in the state. This time around, the religious leaders are not only in Kaduna to talk about peace, but to also unveil some development projects initiated by the Anglican Church of Nigeria. The leader was very clear in his message that nothing can be achieved without peace, and calls for tolerance, dialogue, and harmonious coexistence among Nigerians irrespective of their differences.
We urge everybody to be cautious in what we say, what we do, and what we plan to do. As the scripture tells us, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. We cannot be able to continue reprisals, attacks, revenge, and have peace. No, we have no alternative than to build Nigeria.
Primate of the Anglican Church of Nigeria told the governor that the church stands for peace and will collaborate with the government in tackling insecurity by seeking God's intervention. Governor Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai says government will not rely on protecting lives and property.
One credit that this government gets from everyone, including even our adversaries, has been our ability to contain these outbreaks and localizing them for management and ensuring that other parts of the state don't go into senseless response to what is happening in one small part of the state.
I've got the Holy Spirit. In Kaduna, I am Muhammad Umar Ajingi, NTA News.
Many thanks, Ajingi. The federal government is recording more successes in breaking the jinx of poverty in Jigawa State, with the state being the highest beneficiary of the federal government conditional cash transfer program. The state governor, Muhammad Badr Abubakar, confirmed this at the presentation of cash to more beneficiaries at Gagarawa. Awal Muhammad Kazuri reports.
Rank among states with high level of poverty and 8th in the national population figure, Jigawa State is receiving special attention of the federal government's Social Protection Intervention Program. This presentation of cash of more than 260 million naira brings to more than 9 billion naira the federal government disbursed under the conditional cash transfer in the state.
It is based on the success recorded in the implementation of the program in the 9 piloted local governments that the National Cash Transfer Office directed the continuation of the exercise in the remaining 18 local governments of the state. The work for the identification of the beneficiaries has already begun, and more than 25% of the communities have been engaged and invited. The current beneficiaries were mined from the data of the communities so far engaged in the 18 local governments.
Given the breakdown of the conditional cash transfer, State Coordinator Bala Usman Chamo explained that it has been expanded to cover 9 more local government areas.
We have so far received an approval to feed 26,734 in the state, among which in Nasgaga local government, where the launching is taking place, 1,336 beneficiaries will benefit from the program.
From Duse, Awal Muhammad Kazauri, NTA News.
And that report from Jagar concludes our bit. From here, it's back to Cyril in Abuja, who's standing by to continue Network News. Cyril.
An effective synergy that will guarantee security of lives and property of the people of Imo State is being worked out with the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps. The State Governor, Hope Uzodimma, gave the indication while on a visit to the headquarters of NSCDC in Abuja. Consequently, the governor promised a hectare of land for the proposed building of the NSCDC Zonal Command in Imo State.
In civil defense and civil security, we need your professional and technical support.
We've trained our men to provide security here, and we are going to train more.
The Commandant General of NSCDC, Abdullahi Gana, promised effective collaboration with the Imo State government. The Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, says it will continue to practice what it preaches in terms of transparency and accountability in its dealings. This was demonstrated as the organization held its 2020 pre-qualification bid in Abuja. Musbah and Wahab reports.
2007 Public Procurement Act provides that transparency must be ensured in the procurement process by government ministries, departments and agencies, and that becomes more pertinent under a government that primes war against corruption. So, walking its talk, open competitive bidding is the guiding principle as NTA holds the 2020 pre-qualification procurement bid.
The essence of this exercise is to ensure fairness, transparency, reliability, accountability, and the strict adherence to ethical standards, which we all know is not just the aim of this government, but the urgent desire of the Nigerian nation as we move towards the goals of nationhood and development.
Project Limited. For the 7 lots of procurement advertised, about 50 companies submitted entries to prove technical capability to supply what the organization needs to stock up its equipment reserve.
Our buildings that we are renovating now, so a lot of things need to be done in order to make it habitable for our own work. So that is part of what we are planning to do this year, and it is already captured in 2020 appropriation bill. They should.
The death has occurred of Chief Nathaniel Folarin Coker. He died on Wednesday, the 12th of August. He was 97 years. Late Chief Coker was an accomplished civil servant and pioneer permanent secretary in Lagos State. He was Babaitu of Lagos and Bobagunwa of Igede Ekiti. He is survived by children, among whom is Folarin Coker, Director General of the Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation, NTDC, grandchildren and great-grandchildren. That concludes Network News Tonight. Good night.